Today, I'm going to bring you news about a serial sexual abuser that worked his way into a church and did several sexual assaults at the church by victimizing our youngest church members. This person is a serial sexual abuser who has been from El Salvador, who has been deported multiple times and has come back to the United States multiple times and has been allowed to continue to victimize people within our country. Now here at Christian Warrior Training, we concentrate specifically on keeping our churches safe. We put out information each week on crimes that occur at churches so that we can help keep our churches safe. If you head over to christianwarriortraining.com, you can get free training to help keep your churches safe. Now, if this is the information that you like receiving, hit subscribe, follow, leave a comment. The algorithm loves it. All right, let's get into what happened here. Now we're taking a closer look at Irvin Giovanni Alfaro Lopez. He was arrested earlier this week on several sex offense charges. Now ICE is telling me that the man was here from El Salvador and has been in a constant cycle of getting arrested, being deported, and then coming back to the United States. The 33-year-old was first arrested in 2015 by Border Patrol in Charles, Louisiana. He was released at that time in order to report to ICE in Baltimore. Now, it wasn't until nearly 3 years later that he was deported in 2018. Then in 2019, he was arrested again by ICE and voluntarily left the country. But less than a year later, he was picked up by Border Patrol agents in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas after illegally entering yet again. He was then deported to El Salvador in March of 2020, and at some point he illegally re-entered the country, and Montgomery County police arrested him in August of 23 for first-degree rape and 2 counts of sex offenses. Now at that time, ICE lodged a detainer, but the Montgomery County Detention Center did not honor it. Now let's talk about Montgomery County not honoring the detainer. That happens a lot. Usually when somebody's arrested, they're going to get released on state charges, but ICE puts basically a detainer, which is kind of like a warrant, and orders the arresting agency to hold them. We would hold them, ICE would show up, take them into custody, and they would go face federal charges. But in a lot of left-leaning states, California especially, they won't hold them anymore because they have orders from their local governments to release these people and not cooperate with ICE. I've talked a lot about this over at Survival Dispatch on their podcast. So go head over there to Survival Dispatch and follow them. I do show up there a lot and talk about that with them and talk about these issues. But you should know this is happening more and more. And honestly, it needs to stop, especially when you know that this guy is a sexual deviant. Now, at that time, ICE lodged a detainer, but the Montgomery County Detention Center didn't honor it. So in September of last year, more than a dozen other sex offense charges were added against him that date back to November of 2014. Now, that brings us to this week. He was arrested Monday for 13 additional charges from March of 2016 to December of 2018, where he worked at Elam Church in Deerwood, according to Montgomery County Police. Now, this is a perfect example. Now, police say that the victims ranged in age, some as young as 6 years old, and investigators believe there could be more victims out there. They also say once Alfaro Lopez finishes his case with the state, he'll be deported yet again. But now ICE says that they've reached an agreement with Montgomery County when it comes to detainers. Now, Montgomery County says that there was some confusion in the past. Montgomery County thought that ICE wanted them to hold the suspect for 48 hours after they've been ordered released. However, ICE says they just want 48 hours advance notice so they can go get resources available to pick that suspect before they're let go. Maryland County is lying about what occurred with that ICE detainer. They know full well it's 48 hours advance notice prior to a release. Everybody knows that. We all know that. I've never worked in a jail, and I know that. They're just outward lying to the public to cover for what they've done. So here's what we can do for churches, right? Here's what churches can do to make sure that a serial sexual abuser that's an illegal alien doesn't come to their church. You need to do a comprehensive background check. You will find out that that person's an illegal alien. Your church has to make a decision if you're going to hire that person or bring them on as a youth pastor. If you can't check into their criminal background history from their own country, you need to decide if that is worth it or not. Our ultimate duty is to protect our children. Countries like El Salvador may not have a database of sexual offenders, but easily if you did a background check on this guy, his sex offenses would have come up from the United States. There are a number of churches that still don't do proper background checks and proper vetting of their volunteers. This has to stop. You have to, people in critical situations like people that pastor to our youth, they have to go through comprehensive background checks. Same thing with our safety teams. You have to do a comprehensive safety check on these people to make sure they're not sexual deviants or people that could harm our children. We need to do regular training of all of our staff members. I have put up a number of articles over at christianwarriortraining.com where I talk about how to vet out or how to find sexual abusers and keep them out of your church. We have lists of signs of sexual predators that you can look at and see if there's anybody that fits that profile at your church. You want to make sure you have strict visitor policies. You want to restrict access to the children. I'll give you a perfect example. Recently, we had an incident where we had a couple going through a divorce. The dad showed up to pick up what he says was his children, which probably was his child, but he didn't have the ticket of being the person that dropped the child off. So the children's ministry staff appeased him and brought the child out to the hallway so they can talk. It's not acceptable. They don't have the ticket to pick up the child. They don't talk to the child, see the child, anything. You want to have safe environment policies, which means no adult is ever left with a child alone, ever. There's always 2 adults present while dealing with the children. Child needs to go to the bathroom, then 2 adults come with the child to the bathroom. You want to monitor and supervise all of your children. You want to make sure that there is somebody watching all of the teachers. Now, safety team members, during your regular checks, I see people stay away from the children's ministry. I always make it a point of walking into the children's ministry, walking around, just standing there and observing. I'm being friendly about it. I'm smiling. I'm saying hi to the kids, saying hi to my coworkers, but I'm also looking for those signs of predatory behavior. You want to have good communication channels so that parents and children feel comfortable coming forward and talking about inappropriate behavior that they may have seen or heard about. You also want to collaborate with law enforcement. Law enforcement, especially for those of you in smaller communities, can be very helpful. They will give you tons of information outside of normal channels that can help you keep people like that out. You want to do regular audits. You want to conduct safety audits to go in and make sure that all policies are being followed. You also want an emergency response plan. You want a policy that outlines procedures for handling allegations of abuse. Now look, this never should have happened. Proper background checks and proper vetting of your people never would have allowed this person to volunteer at your church ever, and those children never would have become victims. We have to do better. Now, if you want to know more about church crime that's occurring at churches, and how to make your church safer without making it a bunker so it's free for people to come to Christ, head on over to christianwarriortraining.com. We have free training where you can get a certificate of training. We have free resources. Everything there is for free. If you like what I'm doing and you want to support my cause, then do a paid subscription. It helps me continue to do all of this. By you guys doing that, I've been able to do less law enforcement training and concentrate more on keeping our churches safer. So I appreciate all of you that have been helping me keep our churches safer. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I love reading your comments and hearing what's going on. That's all I've got for now. Remember your ABCs. Always be caring.